Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. I want to apologize to the audience for the technical difficulties that interrupted the show we were doing live at 10 a.m. Look, maybe it was divine providence or who knows, but because if news had broken in the middle of that show, we would have had to pivot to this topic we're going to discuss now instead of all the things going on in the sports world. You guys know how big of a deal I thought the Daniel Penny trial was and is. He was acquitted today. The first charges, the manslaughter charges, were dismissed late last week. Now, today, the jury comes back and finds him not guilty of, I believe, criminal negligence. Daniel Penny is a free man. He's been acquitted of the crimes charged against him in the tragic death of Jordan Neely. That was not Daniel Penny's fault. This is a monumental, huge day in America. It is the end, the official end of the Black Lives Matter era. It is over. This jury was not bullied into a conviction of Daniel Penny for his actions to defend himself and others on a subway train by subduing, restraining, wrestling to the ground a homeless man, drug addicted, schizophrenic, history of violence. Could we argue, and is there a reasonable argument that I will not disagree with, that perhaps Daniel Penny was a bit too aggressive with his chokehold? Perhaps he was, and perhaps in defending himself and others on the train, perhaps he was a bit too aggressive. But putting that man in prison for murder, putting that man in prison for any length of time for trying to subdue someone with a history of violence, and even though Daniel Penny didn't know that, he has enough life experience on subway trains. He's seen what drug addicts and homeless people and people with mental disorders have done on these subway trains. No way this man should have been convicted, and thank God this jury, which was a diverse jury. I think it had 7 women and 5 men. Some of these people on the jury, I'm pretty sure we'll have to do the research because this news just got announced in the last 20, 30 minutes. But I'm sure there were some black people on that jury, people of color on that jury. And they all manned up and womaned up and did the right thing. Sanity is returning to the United States of America. We are done playing this racial identity game that the left wants us to play. And I'm sorry that it's too late, but perhaps it's not, particularly for the 3 officers that were convicted in the George Floyd fentanyl overdose, the 3 officers not named Derek Chauvin. Those 3 officers need to be released. They were on the scene of George Floyd's overdose. Derek Chauvin, in my opinion, needs to be released. But at the very least, these 3 other officers, one of them who's half black, one of them who's Asian, they were all caught up in this overzealous Black Lives Matter, racial idolatry. Let's kill Whitey. Let's convict Whitey of everything. Let's pretend that Whitey and the police are just out randomly killing black people. We got people sitting in prison, lives destroyed over this BLM hoax and mass psychosis that we've been under. And Daniel Penny and his not guilty verdict and that diverse jury pool in New York, in a very liberal city, in a very liberal state, did the right thing. It is a signal that sanity is returning to America and the whole Black Lives Matter movement is over. And I was on Charlie Kirk's show earlier today, and I was talking about, like, Men have finally stood up and put their foot down, and they're not going to be silenced by, oh, you're racist. Oh, you're homophobic. Oh, Jason, you're an Uncle Tom. You're a coon. No. Smear me all you want. I'm a man who tries to obey God. I'm a man that believes in right and wrong, good versus evil. I'm someone that doesn't have these racial lenses on my eyes, that sees everything as a struggle between black and white. And there are other men like that have finally said enough is enough. And it looks like when men stand up and actually say and do the right thing, it looks like women follow. And as and again, we're going to bring, I think TJ Moe is here with us. TJ, I want to bring you into this conversation. I want to bring you into this conversation, not in a way, obviously, I love you and, got your back and, you're great. But last week when we were discussing this, I kept saying, TJ, this isn't one holdout juror. This is not one holdout juror. This is a wave of momentum. And I thought it might be one person on the other side. But the facts were so clear, and the removal of the scales off of people's eyes so clear, and this case was so clear cut that unfortunately, Jordan Neely had been abandoned by his father. His mother was murdered at 14. He got into drugs and fell into mental illness, and he had a history of violence. Come on, man. There's too many rational people that have seen like, hey, man, where does this racial idolatry lead to? It leads to chaos. It leads to mass violence. It leads to people saying, oh, prioritizing feelings over facts. And that's how you end up, oh, a man with bat and balls gets to claim he's a woman, and we all have to go along with it. And we all have to pretend like we've never been on a subway, particularly those of us in New York have never been on a subway where some homeless person with clear mental illness and with a history of violence hasn't been a menace and hasn't been a threat and hasn't conducted violence on a subway. We have to pretend like, nope, that's not true. Jordan Neely was just a Michael Jackson impersonator, and he was just in the middle of getting his life together, and he was going to be a rocket scientist, no different than George Floyd. That is over. I thought that there were more people that felt this way, and that's what this verdict confirms. This is more of a mandate than even Donald Trump. This is more than what just happened in the election. This jury just said, hey, snap out of it, everybody. Go ahead. We need men to defend women. We need men to defend the weak. We need men to restrain men that need to be restrained. And I feel bad for Jordan Neely, but damn it, if you keep running in traffic, you're a dog that keeps chasing after cars in traffic, eventually you're going to get run over. I think this verdict is significant. I think it's a great statement about in New York City, they came back not guilty for Daniel Penny. That's 12 jurors all agreeing. And yes, it took 3 or 4 days. It took longer than I wanted. But man, what a message this sends. Your thoughts, TJ?
Yeah, it looks like you were right that, when they dropped the manslaughter charge, it is interesting because the manslaughter charge carried 15 years. The criminal negligent homicide charge only carried 4 years. So to go through the weekend and then come back as to come back unanimously to say that he's not guilty is a more difficult task than it would be. In theory, you'd say, okay, it's not manslaughter. It is this. They had time to go back and think about it. That is fascinating, and I think you're right. I think the larger picture is this. Black Lives Matter is dead. They have no power. It's over. And, we didn't really have that discussion during the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. Yeah, we didn't have the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff because that was a bunch of white dudes. That was a white dude who killed a white pedophile. And look, you still had Al Sharpton and the rest coming in and saying, hey, you know, this is something. But this was a black dude who was, quote, killed. He was not, by a white Marine, and had a lot of the fanfare, although it went under the radar a little bit because of the election this year. I think they're totally, totally dead. I don't think they're coming back either. What's interesting, though, and this is something that I read immediately after this, we're going to find out. This is Eric Daughtry tweeted this out. Co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Hawk Newsom shouted.
Hank Newsom. Help
yes.
Me.
Yeah. It's a small world, buddy. Yeah, it's a small world, buddy, and America's a racist country. Immediately after, so Daniel Penny's side of the court, they all applauded when he was not guilty. The judge said, quiet down. And then I guess the judge leaves and goes in, and that's when this stuff started yelling. Somebody else at some point yelled that he was going to be killed and such. And so you still have these things, but I'd be stunned if BLM is rioting in the streets. 4 years ago, they would be in the streets, guaranteed. I don't think we're going to see it. I think that whatever political credibility they had previously, it's gone.
Are we going to see it? I can't answer that question off the top of my head. I would think not, hope not. If we do see it, I think the mood that Eric Adams is in, the mayor of New York City, I think we'll see them confronted and put down rather than, hey, we just got to let them burn and loot and pretend like there's nothing to see here. This is all normal, and we got to let them vent. Rioting is the voice of the unheard. No, we've heard you, and we've called BS on what you've been yelling and screaming, and now National Guard, somebody put these people in their place. Lock them up in jail. Let's keep the charges. Let's don't drop the charges. Just don't turn it into a revolving door. TJ, I'm going to, obviously we're just talking off the top of our head because this news is happening in real time. And I would appreciate the people in the chat, if you're there, if people have information on the demographic of the jury, because I do believe it's 7 women and 5 men. But if anybody knows the racial demographic of the jury, please put that in the chat or get us that information in real time. We're trying to cover this in real time. I'm on X. I'm trying to find this stuff out. But I want to connect it to something I heard earlier today. And TJ, correct me if I'm wrong, or Butter, correct me if I'm wrong. But I heard Jim Clyburn out of South Carolina, the congressman. I think Clyburn's in the Senate. I heard him on CNN this morning talking about pardons, presidential pardons. And I heard the CNN host ask him about Donald Trump planning to pardon January 6th alleged insurrectionists. And Clyburn gave an answer that was kind of vague. And so the host circled back and he goes, but you are in disagreement with Trump pardoning January 6th insurrectionists. And Jim Clyburn said, and Jim Clyburn's a racial idolater. He's part of the whole left-wing mass psychosis on race, racial identity politics. He then goes, well, I think on a case-by-case basis, I'm okay with pardons. And, if there are some of these people that didn't participate in the violence and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hold on. And the CNN host was like, you're not going to blanketly just say that, no, there should be no pardons as it relates to January 6th? And I was like, look at Jim Clyburn. This man is backpedaling like Deion Sanders. And then they ask him the follow-up question about preemptive pardons. And he answered the first question so that he could answer the second question the way that he did. That yes, he basically co-signed Biden giving preemptive pardons, blah, blah. And it's like, these people are in full backpedal mode. They'd had control of the criminal justice system. They were able to use it to demonize and criminalize and lock up their political opponents. Now that the rabbit has the gun, now it's like, Not everybody on January 6th belongs in jail. There were some people, blah, blah, blah. And it's a recognition, it's a signal of just like the times that we're living in. The wind is at the back of the righteous, and we need to run with it.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. So Clyburn, for clarity's sake, is House Rep for CD6 in South Carolina. Yep. He's got a lot of political power down there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was the guy who was the ringleader of getting Joe Biden in the White House at South Carolina when everything changed at that point. And so, yes, he has a lot of serious political power. You know, it's interesting. It's not, people didn't act like this during Trump's first term. It's because, first you had Jeff Sessions, who everybody hated as Attorney General. You ended up with Bill Barr as Attorney General. A bunch of guys that were certainly not Trumpers. They were not guys who they were all establishment guys, every last one of them. Now you have Pam Bondi, who's going to be your Attorney General. And after all of these years, and again, here's the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats. When Democrats are in office, they govern like they're never not going to be in office again. And when Republicans are in office, they govern like they're about to lose any political power they have, and so they better be very careful. That is the biggest difference between us and them, which is why when they do things like nuke the filibuster and there are several different examples, we turn around and take advantage of it. That's how the Supreme Court ended up with the makeup that it did. Harry Reid nuked the filibuster, said it had to be done. That tweet is still up from 2013, and it turns out now it ends up to be a 6-3 Supreme Court. And so, I think Pam Bondi, who was an unbelievable Attorney General for Florida from 2011 to 2019, will operate this way. And Donald Trump will operate this way because he's got nothing to lose. He's a guy who's running his own party. He's not an establishment guy. There is no going back to the Republicans because it would be just as bad. So for Trump, he's like, we got one shot at this. We got 4 years of everything that I want. I've had all this time to put my team together. Here's my team. Now let's rock. And everybody actually believes it for the first time. That's why they're running scared.
Here's what I would. Pam Bondi is a great talking point, and why I'm a tiny bit suspicious of her. And again, I like her. When men stand up, women will follow. But Pam Bondi participated in the lynch job of George Zimmerman. I believe she was the district attorney or was involved in the prosecution of George Zimmerman on the Trayvon Martin case. And so hopefully the scales have come off her eyes and she admits the mistake of being involved in that. But that is the next thing that Daniel Penny will be dealing with is, will the media back off of Daniel Penny, or will they try to do to him what they tried to do to George Zimmerman, what they did to George Zimmerman? They made George Zimmerman a billboard of racism and a billboard for someone should do something to George Zimmerman, where George Zimmerman basically had to go into hiding. I don't think you can do that with a former Marine, Daniel Penny. I don't think you can do that in this current atmosphere now that X/Twitter is actually.
I think that's the biggest point in all of this, is that it doesn't feel one-sided to me. I'm an average consumer of all information, sports, politics, this case. I don't know the nuances to the highest level. I just can tell you, as somebody that has consumed this on a general level, I feel like you're seeing both sides of it. And I think that's the momentum that you're talking about. This case seemed to land more on the logic side, and we haven't seen a whole lot of that happening. I feel like I've been going crazy for the last 8 years. Like I can't understand logic when I watch the news. But I feel like in general, we're now seeing both sides of the argument. We're seeing both sides of why people think things and the reactions to it. And that feels much more balanced to me.
Go ahead, TJ.
I want to defend Pam Bondi a little bit here, and here's why. It's not because of her actions before, because I think she has things that are just as bad as that more recent. I don't know if it was during COVID. I've seen videos of her where I was reluctant at first, and I got to thinking about it. And I think Linda Yaccarino is a good example. She is the CEO of X. If you look at her resume, you would think X would be a communist hellhole. And yet, she had some sort of awakening because X has been the leading indicator, it has led us to a place where we can have reasonable discussion. And she's been amazing. I would use Megyn Kelly as an example, and you've pointed this out before, where you had conversations with Megyn Kelly where she was a little bit, she certainly wasn't pro-trans, but whatever conversation. Do you remember what conversation you were having with her where you were the ones?
Yeah. No, I can tell you exactly what it was. And obviously everybody knows I love Megyn Kelly, but I completely disagree. I kept trying to explain to her, hey, this LGBTQ, it's the slippery slope. And she was one of the first people where I started talking about the silent P. And she completely, no. The gays aren't for pedophilia, no. I'm like, you don't understand it. This is a slippery slope. It leads to this. It's that first bite of McDonald's leads to obesity in a lot of cases. But anyway, go ahead.
And there's nobody now stronger on the trans thing outside of perhaps Matt Walsh and you and a couple others than Megyn Kelly. When these women get radicalized, it's very easy to emotionally manipulate women when they haven't seen something. Once they've seen it, it's on. And so this is where I put Pam Bondi. She's seen it now. She's seen the George Zimmerman stuff. She's seen the COVID stuff. She's around. And now, I'm telling you, when women get radicalized, they flat get after it. And that's the Pam Bondi we're going to get here.
I hope, but it is in women's nature to choose feelings over facts. It is in women's nature to, hey, how can we make a compromise decision here? How can we make everyone happy? And it's a woman's nature to say, what?
Ever heard the phrase, hell hath no fury like a scorned woman?
Yes, like a woman. Yeah. I've heard it.
These are scorned women. But I'm telling you, there is no, once you get past that version of the women, they everything you're saying is right the first time. You ever met an ex-wife in a courtroom who's dealing with a guy who's destroyed her life? Good luck with that emotional manipulation. I'm just telling you, once you get after these women, the women, particularly these professional women who like to think of themselves as people that you could never manipulate in the first place, they get manipulated one time, it is on. I've seen it over and over again.
I hope you're right, but I've also just, these women, and listen, I don't have animus towards gay people. I disagree with their sinful lifestyle, but I don't have animus towards them. I don't, but I've seen people, in order to try to make them happy, compromise on everything. I've seen that, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings, so let me go ahead and co-sign this lie that their lifestyle isn't an abomination. And it's just because we've prioritized making everyone feel happy. And so that's how I'm telling women, it's in their nature. They would look at someone like me and says, well, he wants to wear size 32 jeans, so let's just cut the tag off these size 42 and put 32. Let's stitch 32 in there, and we'll pretend that Whitlock wears size 32 jeans. That's in their nature.
When things are going well.
That's what.
When things are going well, when there's no threat, that's their nature. Women go, look, women need protectors. That is something that, I mean, this is why the gay thing doesn't work in the first place, right? Women are always looking to be protected, and when it's time for them, particularly if they got kids, they're actually pretty good protectors for their own children. There are certainly women who would lay down their life for their children. I'm just telling you, when everything's going fine, in Obergefell's 2011, I think. What was the threat in the United States in 2011? What was the war? What children were getting their healthy genitals chopped off? What was going on at any point in time that these women should be on the lookout going, I'm gonna have to homeschool my kids because you're telling them that we're gonna have these come out of the closet parties in the first grade? Like, we're in a place now. Again, there was a time, this is the Democratic Department of Justice and Merrick Garland, where there was real discussion about putting these women on domestic terrorist lists because they went to the schools and spoke out at some of the meetings. I mean, we are in wartime, and this is how Donald Trump won, because I don't think Donald Trump wins in 2011. You don't need a guy like Donald Trump in 2011. You need a guy like Donald Trump today. And there's a reason Ron DeSantis might actually beat Donald Trump in the election of 2012. He might have beat him in the primary. You didn't need that guy. You needed a little more, a guy who could speak and sort of resonate with people and not so bombastic. Donald Trump is the guy you had to have today. And women voted for him in a big way. And these are all married women that we're talking about, too. Single women got their own way of dealing with things. I get it. But I'm telling you, these women, it's not the era of everything's fine. What was it? 1995 to 2010. There's virtually no threat to anybody for anything in America. Yeah, you had 9/11, but inside of your quarters here, race relations were really good in America. We didn't have real problems. What were the big issues? And since 2011, there's been issue after issue after issue that you had to fend off. And finally, in 2024, women decided, I'll vote for Donald Trump. I don't care. To hell with you all. I'll do what I have to do to protect these kids.
I hope you're right. TJ, I want to take a pause because I want to bring Shamika into this conversation. And I may want to circle back to you. I'd love for you to see I put out a tweet trying to get the demographics on this jury. Again, I know it's 7 women and 5 men. That's a great sign. That's an argument in your favor. But I want to bring Shamika into the conversation just to have this woman's conversation. And so I'm going to let you go. I'm going to take care of a little business. We'll take a break. Hopefully we'll come back with Shamika. We'll hear from her. And then I may be circling back to you. But let's go for right now. Guys, I want to talk to you about PREBORN. A new Danish study shows that a year after aborting, women exhibited 50% higher likelihood of first-time psychiatric treatment and an 87% higher likelihood of personality and behavior disorders. How is this women's health care? PREBORN's network of clinics is positioned in the highest abortion areas, and they're fighting for mothers who are deciding between life and death for their unborn children. By introducing a mother to her child on a free ultrasound, they double the chances that the mother will choose life. Then they show those babies and the mothers God's love by providing additional assistance for up to 2 years. There are babies in their mother's womb who need our help right now. As the year comes to a close, your tax-deductible donation can be the difference between life and death. Would you consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Your gift of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 will be used to save countless babies, and now, through a match, your gift is doubled. To donate, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Today's show, this episode, sponsored by PREBORN. Thank you guys so much. When we come back, we'll bring in Shamika Michelle. We'll find out, we'll let her arbitrate. Her and Butter can arbitrate who's right, who's wrong here about these women going to stand tall with us. I think they stand tall as long as we as men stand tall. We stand up, they'll follow. If not, they'll fold like they did last time. Shamika Michelle, next. All right, welcome back. I just cracked a joke off air. I hope it wasn't on air. But if it was, it's just typical in character with me. Someone has tweeted at me 1 minute ago or posted on X that the jury make up 7 white, 2 black, 1 Filipino, 1 Middle Eastern, 1 Hispanic. I don't know if that's true, but that's what someone's posted to me over X. Sounds about right to me. And so I guess the 2 black, Filipino, Middle Eastern, that's 5 people of color that are all, I'm sure, white supremacists and sided with Daniel Penny. All those black or people of color white supremacists that disagreed. And by the way, we didn't mention that Jordan Neely's long lost estranged father, he was in the court and I think made some threats or had to be escorted out of the courtroom by security. He abandoned his son, and perhaps this verdict probably makes it less likely that he'll cash in. So I'm sure he was very upset. But Shamika, hopefully you were listening to me and TJ Moe spar back and forth on, are women going to stand tall, stand strong here? What did you make of that debate? Your thoughts?
I was listening, Jason, but I was not really listening that well. So can you just catch me up a little bit? What's the debate again?
Well, my debate is that, or my conversation is that TJ is saying women have changed, that because I brought up like Pam Bondi was the attorney general, I believe, in Florida, hired the special prosecutor that went after George Zimmerman, and TJ brought up, well, like, hey man, things have really changed for women. Look at Megyn Kelly. She was pro-trans and pro-LGBTQ, and me and Megyn Kelly had a conversation about the LGBTQ slippery slope years ago, and he's saying, like, now women have changed. They now get it now. Their eyes have been opened. They're not going back. And my argument is like, I'm not so sure. It's nice that they're standing tall right now, but women are the queens of compromise. In order to protect the feelings of a gay person, they'll lie. Oh, that's not an abomination. That's just, you just happen to like a little D in your rear end. That's not an abomination. Totally get it. I do it on weekends too. He's saying they've changed. I'm saying for the moment they have. And the whole key to this is men. We can't change. And if we stand tall, women will follow. He's saying the threats to kids is so obvious now that women have been radicalized and they will not change on these issues.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far as to say that women have been radicalized, simply because we are the same group of people that were deceived in the garden. So I think that it is really typical of women to be easily deceived and easily taken down the wrong path. That is primary the reason why I wasn't paying close attention to the conversation, because men were in the chat telling me they love me and, all of these things that I just was easily distracted. So I think, as long as things are going well, as long as women can actually lean on men to be in the fight and take charge and do what they're supposed to do, we do feel a little bit more confident to stand strong. But I do think we can be easily led astray.
What do you make of the argument that this verdict is the end of the Black Lives Matter movement? It's the exclamation point that people aren't listening to that crap anymore. Hank Newsom or Hawk Newsom, whatever the New York City head of Black Lives Matter, he made some threats in court. He was at this press conference. Hadley, text me some of the quotes. You say that the quotes here in a story from the BLM crowd, they were with Jordan Neely's family at the presser. Could you text me some of those quotes? Hold on, Jack's already, I think, taking care of it. Paraphrasing, Jordan Neely's failed father and his supporters are in front of the courthouse in Manhattan calling for black vigilantes to kill whites in the wake of the Daniel Penny acquittal. Eric Garner's mother blasts Daniel Penny's not guilty verdict in the Jordan Neely trial, saying, quote, "That's why I have to come out when this injustice is done. If this had been the other way, if your family had murdered this so-called innocent guy, now it would have been a different story. He would have been in jail or would have never come out. But they don't do this. They don't do the same to us. It's just two justice systems, and we have to stop this." BLM's response after Daniel Penny was cleared of all charges: "These wonderful white people, I hope they celebrate their Christmas while the Neely family is praying and asking God for comfort. G.O.D. damn them and G.O.D. damn America." Holy cow. Anyway, do you think there will be any rioting in the name of Jordan Neely? Say his name. I don't want to mock the guy, but holy cow. Anyway, what do you think the reaction is going to be? You think we'll see some looting in the name of Jordan Neely?
Look, I think that people are oftentimes or always looking for a time to loot. We're right here at Christmas, and listen, if you're going to get a big TV, I would like to be able to use that as my backdrop. I have a couple things in mind. So I don't think that it takes much for people to get out there and steal, because that's exactly what they like to do. But I do think that BLM is dying. I think it was dying before this case. I think we're sick of seeing angry Black people only be concerned when someone loses their life at the hand of white people, especially when you have maybe experienced it yourself, death at the hands of another Black person. Because we can get on TV and cry and scream all day long, but at the end of the day, more Black people, especially our young Black men, are dying at the hands of other Black men. So I don't want to hear a bunch of rigmarole when it comes to someone dying at the hands of somebody white. Let's get in these communities and let's stop the gang violence that our kids are experiencing every single day. So I do think that Black Lives Matter needs to pivot. If Black lives really matter, focus on the tons of Black young youth that are dying at the hands of each other. All of this getting on TV, chasing ambulances and trying to get a check from white people, I think for the most part, we're sick of it as Black people. I myself I've never known anyone to die at the hands of a white person, but I can just rattle off names of Black people dying at the hands of other Black people. We have a blanket here, a quilt, that every time we lose someone in the city to what they would call gun violence, but it's just murder by guns, they just stitch their name onto the quilt. And I've watched the quilt over the, decades just get longer and longer and longer. And we've never once had someone come out to riot or rally on behalf of these lost lives. So to me, I don't want to hear anything that Black Lives Matter has to say unless it's concerning what we deal with on a daily basis.
Shamika, I'm going to circle back to you a little bit later because I want to talk about Jay-Z, and he's joined Club Diddy, it seems, and I want to have that conversation with you. But I'm going to circle back to TJ Moe right now, so I'm going to let you go. Butter, one of the things that shocked me is, not shocked, but I think is very significant here. They did a artist rendering of the jury, and they showed an older white guy, looked like, who was double masked. He was wearing two masks. And everybody was like, oh, that's the guilty verdict. So a double masked older white person voted not guilty. That, to me, screams like BLM is over. If you can't get the double mask wearing person in 2024, if you can't get them to go along with convicting Daniel Penny, BLM is over.
But I feel like that is the overwhelming feeling of a lot of things, not just as it pertains to BLM, but like everything in general feels like there's a new sensibility right now. Quick question for you. In terms of this trial, and I'm sorry that I don't know this, when this verdict comes back, does that mean just only one person couldn't convict on these other charges? What is the breakdown
It's unanimous.
So it has to come back unanimous.
Guilty or innocent, it has to come back unanimous.
Okay, and so it came back.
What America have you been living in?
I hear you, but I just wasn't sure in these situations.
Did they have a civics class at your high school? Did they have a government?
I was.
Someone, have you not watched any movies? The Verdict, Presumed Innocent. Give me the great courtroom movies of all time. You've never watched any of them?
I think I probably have.
In a civil case, it's it doesn't. I don't think it has.
I was just looking for some clarification as a judge
Have you ever
myself.
watched Law and Order?
As a judge myself here on Fearless, I was just continuing education. So it has to be a unanimous decision.
Hold for 1 second. Luke is just like 17 years old. He's worked for us since he was 15. Luke, did you know that in a criminal case that it had to be a unanimous decision one way or the other? So you think like a 17-year-old, Butter. That's good.
I was on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader with Jeff Foxworthy, and I failed that miserably. Well, good. Now I know.
Chad, help me out here. Maybe I'm being too harsh here, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got to be unanimous. At least that's what Law and Order has convinced me of. I've watched Law and Order used to be one of my favorite shows. Anyway, we're going to circle back to TJ Moe. Before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about Hillsdale College. You've heard me talk about them in the past, and the more than 40 free online courses they offer on history, economics, politics, philosophy, the criminal justice system. Butter, I think you should start there. But this holiday season, I want you to check out Hillsdale's free course on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. The best authors teach us to see the world in different ways, the stuff that's lost in our busy daily lives. Join Hillsdale professor Dwight Lindley as he leads you through the mysterious world of Ebenezer Scrooge, Bob Cratchit, Jacob Marley, the Ghost of Christmas, and Tiny Tim, all characters we've heard of but have so much to show us. The course is only 6 episodes long, each approximately 30 minutes, and you can watch or listen to them at your own pace. Explore the true meaning of Christmas with Ebenezer Scrooge and his journey from sin to redemption, and join Tiny Tim in saying, God bless us, everyone. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/fearless to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/fearless to register. hillsdale.edu/fearless. We'll circle back to TJ Moe next. TJ Moe rejoining us. TJ, I want to start here. Did you know that it needed to be a unanimous decision in a criminal trial? Did we learn nothing from the O.J. Simpson verdict? Did we learn nothing from years of watching Law and Order? Did you know that, TJ?
Didn't watch Law and Order, and I was 4 during the O.J. Simpson verdict, but I did take 5th grade civics class, so yes, I did actually know that you had to be unanimous. What I didn't know was what you said, actually. And I think 16 states for civil liability stuff, it has to be about 75%. And so civil courts are a little bit different, but in every state, including Louisiana, did not have to be unanimous until 2019. They had a constitutional amendment. So now in all 50 states, it has to be unanimous in a criminal court case.
So, Butter, let me just run a few more questions by you just to check to see. Did you know that you do not have to win the popular vote to win the presidency?
I did know that.
You did know that?
I did know that.
How is it decided? How's the presidency decided?
The Electoral College.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. How many electoral college votes are there, Butter?
You have to have 270 to win.
How many electoral votes are there, Butter?
270 to win.
How many electoral college votes are there, Butter?
I know that when I get biscuits, butter biscuits, from the local delicatessen, there's 12 in that baker's dozen. I do know that.
Butter.
12 in a baker. There are 538 electoral college votes, Butter.
It's a website, Butter.
My knowledge.
538. It's a political website. Yeah.
I'm going to defend you, Butter. I didn't know that until 10 years ago. Maybe 12 years ago. But so when I was your age, I didn't know either. So things you can learn on this.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. I don't pride myself on on some.
Yeah, I never voted, so I didn't really pay that close attention. How many times have you voted, Butter?
Twice.
Oh, good for you. Vote for Trump?
2 times.
Good for you.
Attaboy.
I like that honesty. There you go. Good for you. I've only voted once, and it was for Trump. So I'm still a little bit behind you there.
2022 got you.
Well, no, let's say
Snuck up.
3 times. I would have voted 3 times because there was 3 elections with Trump. 3 times.
So you're 3 for 3 then. Good for you.
2 for 3.
Oh.
Victories.
Hold on.
You voted all 3 times. We just
Who'd
lost.
you vote for in
2020.
2016
Trump.
and 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Royce White voted for Biden and Harris in 2020? I'm just stirring. I'm in such a good mood.
I know. I like it.
I'm just stirring doo-doo right now.
Hey, TJ, this is a pumped up Jason Whitlock right now. I'm here for it.
Look, the Daniel Penny verdict has really thrilled me, and I'm sorry for taking that pot shot at Royce.
It's okay.
But he did vote for Biden and Harris.
I thought you were apologizing to me, not Royce.
Tweeted about it, but he's the ultimate MAGA person, despite voting for Biden and Harris in 2020. I didn't know that was possible. I need to stop because I'm freelance and I'm in such a good mood. I was in such a bad mood. We were having technical difficulties, and then God said, "Hey, let me give you this Daniel Penny verdict."
It came back for you.
Yeah, he did. And so, TJ, you got any additional thoughts from Shamika's take, my take, or just any additional thoughts? Anything you could hunt down while you were away?
Well, what? No, other than I found the videos. If you want to play those, I think we have them. The videos of these people talking now. I think we pulled.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, Jackson. We got
let's do that. Ready. Here's Jordan. Yeah, let's do the video of Jordan Neely's father yelling. Let's play that next, right now.
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Right.
I'm tired.
That was Hawk Newsom, the leader of Black Lives Matter, not Jordan Neely's father. And so what he's talking about here, what Hawk Newsom is saying, and I don't blame him. He's fearful that if it's been legalized to chokehold black people for being loud, he's really worried about movie theater situations and people getting murdered in movie theaters because black moviegoers like to talk during movies. And sometimes I've been triggered by that and wanted to put someone in the chokehold for talking during a movie. And so I got to give Hawk Newsom and Black Lives Matter credit there. That's a legitimate concern. If black people are not going to be allowed to be loud in movie theaters and could risk being restrained by a chokehold, legitimate concern.
I found
Jordan
Neely's.
Go ahead.
I found Jordan Neely's father. They can pull that here in a second. We also have the I think it's his mother talking about these wonderful white people. So we've got a few of them.
Whoa. Jordan Neely's mother's dead. She was murdered at 14.
This was I don't know who it is actually. It's a family, whoever it is, family of Jordan Neely speaking.
Someone in the family. Yes. His auntie probably. Do we have the clip of his auntie, or what do we got here, guys? Do we have another clip? Someone tell me, either in prompter or what? Jack says he's got it. That's my bet. Play the next clip. We'll be just surprised. Oh, are you saying 1 minute? Yeah, we don't have it yet. But yeah, I would like to hear these other.
So we can talk about this for a second, Jason.
I do. Hold on. But Jordan Neely's dad says, "I miss my son." When I abandoned him as a child, that's when I first realized I missed him. And then when he died at the hands of a white man, and I realized I could cash in, boy, I really miss my son now. Anyway, I don't know if that's what he actually said, but we'll have it here in a second. Go ahead, TJ.
No, I'm trying to figure when Trump won in 2016, immediately everything started going against him. And from the off the jump, there was nothing that was going right. I'm trying to think of the thing that I've seen that's been a big red flag since Trump was elected. I can't find it. He had to pull Matt Gaetz back, but even then, I like Pam Bondi. I can't find the thing where the culture's going the wrong way and it's going to be a real struggle for Donald Trump. Even down to he he was in Europe this weekend, and even CNN is talking about how presidential he looked and how he's problem solving and how everybody looks at him. And this is just interesting the way he's going about it. Even the media seems to be look at Mar-a-Lago is the de facto White House right now, where you had Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, went down to Mar-a-Lago. Nobody's going to the White House anymore. They're going down to visit Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago because that's who they have to talk to. The Mexican president has done the same thing, dealing directly with Trump. I'm just trying to find the thing that's not going the direction we want it to, including the culture, not just politically, but including the culture, and I can't find it.
If anybody watching the show in the chat can help us out, I wonder what MSNBC and the Control Negro Network, CNN, what they're saying about this Daniel Penny verdict. I would be very interested in that. I may have to actually tune in to Joy Reid tonight to see what the bald-headed bandit has to say about this, or Rachel Maddow, as I like to call her. I can't wait to see what they have to say, because that will be interesting. It could be just like what I said earlier from Jim Clyburn in terms of like, ooh, what an incredible backpedal by Jim Clyburn. I wonder how subdued the Control Negro Network and MSNBC are going to be about this verdict. Are they going to racialize this and promote violence? Is Kamala Harris going to go on TV and say she'll pay the bail of any looters out there that want to loot in the name of Jordan Neely? Because there's nothing that really, really honors a dead man more than looting. I can't. Can you think of a better way to honor someone other than looting?
Looting is probably the best way to honor somebody. I agree with TJ. I think TJ's right on point, and I mentioned it earlier. I think there's just an overwhelming amount of sensibility and momentums that are happening in this country right now. The concerns that I was having or wondering about if Trump got elected, how much rioting, how much upheaval, what would happen if he got elected? And because of the way he was elected, because of the landslide, because you've seen this overwhelming, convincing movement, I think it's put the country back in a more manageable, logical place. Even watching this guy from BLM come out and make these comments 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that is the only information we would be getting. That is the only thing we would see time and time and time again. And the support for that would have seemed overwhelming. That felt like it was not that. It feels like it's not as critical or as emotional, like everything is so on pins and needles. I don't feel that way.
This is, I got to admit this, and I hate to admit this. This is a serious statement. Part of the reason I bought this home last November was in preparation for the chaos that I thought was coming during this election cycle. I wanted to get out of downtown and this area that I was living in because I thought, man, these downtowns is going to be dangerous, it's going to be crazy, blah, blah, blah. And so let me get a house out further away from all the insanity that I think is coming. And so I would be embarrassed to say how much money I've spent on this house and renovated it to move away from the insanity that I thought was coming. And I keep looking around like, hey, where's the insanity? You know how much money I spent on this house to get away from the insanity? And I'm like, someone do something. Throw a brick in my neighborhood, please. Just could someone please paint graffiti all over my neighborhood? Someone justify this
Loot
money.
the Green Hills Mall.
Yeah. Like, please. And
Jason,
yeah.
I got to teach you something about moving out away from that. You moved like 10 minutes away. That's not out. Okay. If you want to get out, you got to go down to Franklin.
For me, it's out.
Where butter is. You move. Somebody could jog to your house from where you live now.
We didn't even have COVID in Franklin. That's how good we had it.
Look, I like to live in the heart of places. I lived in downtown LA. I lived on the Wilshire Corridor, in LA. I like to be in the mix. I like to be in a zip code where no one can say that I moved away from my people. And I just invested a lot of money to move away from my people. And
Can I listen? Don't forget too.
Yeah,
you said
go ahead.
The best way to truly honor a dead black man is looting. Don't forget arson. That's what we did here in St. Louis. And so I think unless you burn a city to the ground, that is not a proper honor for a dead black man. And I guess it's a bonus if most of those businesses were black owned, which is what happened here in Ferguson, Missouri. But that's a totally different story. One thing I did see, Jason, Phil Mickelson tweeted out. Did you see his tweet? This is, again, how you see the changing in the culture. Phil tweeted out as soon as this verdict came down, finally a little common sense. There never should have been a trial. He should be commended for his selfless actions to protect the other passengers, and those who brought charges should be out of a job. Celebrities are coming out. Phil's been conservative his whole life. Most of these guys have been. Didn't hear much. And now these guys, it took 1 minute for the Daniel Penny verdict to be out, and Phil's like, oh yeah, my time to shine. A lot of these guys are doing it.
I saw Phil early last week. He was tweeting out some stuff in support of Daniel Penny. I reposted it, put a little comment thanking him. Phil's kind of in a nothing to lose position because his flirtation with Liv or involvement with Liv Golf and his gambling kind of destroyed his reputation. I can't wait to hear what people that went soft, like Barkley, whose whole brand was built around, now I'm going to say whatever I want. He kind of he did a show with Gayle King. He started softening his position. I hope that this now snaps Charles back to being that Alabama guy, the Booker T. Washington guy that I've always known and loved. I hope he now snaps all the way back and they move out of that cosplay. He should make fun of Kenny Smith for walking off the set over Jacob Blake. That type of deal. That show went a tiny bit woke. I hope he snaps out of it as well because now the coast is clear. You can actually say the truth, speak the truth without being canceled.
What other white athlete on that level has come out and made a direct comment to something that was clearly being pitched as a racial, situation in this country?
No one.
Huh?
No one.
That's what I'm saying.
What we've had is Nick Bosa put on a MAGA hat. But in terms of standing on it and
that's what I'm saying. With Phil Mickelson, I think there's a lot of that. That's another example, yet another example of where I think the tide is turning. Phil Mickelson never would have said that 2 years ago or a year ago.
He'd still also 5 years ago.
He would have thought it.
Yeah, he would have thought. But 5 years ago, he'd still be in contention for major victories, still more in the middle of his golf career and being a major player in the zeitgeist. I'm giving him credit, though, because it is. He does that, and he opens the door for others to follow in behind him. Yes. LeBron James exited X and social media, so there's no expectation for him to put out some statement. But maybe he won't be able to resist, and LeBron will come out and say something about this Daniel Penny case and talk about how, as a black man, Jordan Penny was walking to a charitable event to raise money for homeless children and got choked out. You can't even get high and be bipolar and threaten to kill people anymore if you're black.
LeBron's kids are afraid to ride the subway.
I mean, but seriously, brother, as a black man, you can't get high and abuse drugs and threaten to kill people anymore without getting harmed yourself. That's not an America I want to live in. I want to be able to get high, threaten people, be a nuisance without someone, killing me or helping me choke out on the drugs that I've swallowed.
Yeah, since when can't you be a pedophile? And since when can't you be a pedophile in Wisconsin pointing a gun at somebody? What America are we living in?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Guys,
I just think Butter is right, because I've been sitting here Googling as he's been talking about it. Who was the Phil Mickelson of 2016 or 2020? Like, there have always been old, past their prime athletes, and those guys wouldn't come out either. So I'm trying to find – these guys didn't exist. you either had really, really old, totally out of the spotlight guys, which I think there were a few. Is Jack Nicklaus one of those guys? Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus. Bobby Bowden came out in 2020, I think, didn't he?
Drew Brees came out, and we saw what happened to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he just dipped a little bit of his.
He put his toe in, and then. But that's an example, though, and TJ, not jumping on you or cutting you off, but I mean, I just. It feels different. I think the day Donald Trump rose up off that stage in Pennsylvania, I think the world changed. I think this country changed. It has not felt the same to me since that day. I think people don't give an F anymore. I know I'm somebody that was very hesitant to speak on any level of anything. I don't give an F anymore. And I can tell you that day, my emotions changed towards it. I don't care what the pushbacks are anymore.
Butter, that's one of the most authentic things you've said, and I appreciate it. Because, and I'm saying this in all seriousness, Butter, for a time, we wanted to make Butter a part of the show, and Butter was like, man, that's really hot over there. That's, and I'm in the music industry, and I got things going on. It's really hot over there. And I just said what you said today on Charlie Kirk's show about like, hey man, when they tried to assassinate Donald Trump and he popped up and said fight, that was the moment men were like, well, hold on. I won't even say what I think, but this man will take a bullet, pop up and say fight, and all anyone's asking me to say is what I really think and believe. That's not a high bar. And so, I think it has inspired a lot of men, and I do think there's two things that have happened. Trump and the assassination attempt, Elon Musk taking over Twitter and turning it into X has just given men their balls back. And it's I hate to say it, there's no Diddy here, but it's a joy to see. It's a joy to see men dropping their balls and letting them hang. No Diddy.
Jack, clip that off. Yeah. We got to use that, Jack. Yeah. Clip that off.
Make sure you include the no Diddy. Let's play Jordan Neely's father, his reaction to the verdict. I think we have it now. Here's Jordan Neely's dad.
I just want to say I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged. Mm-hmm. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
I abandoned my son, and it's you all's fault. And I miss my son. We used to do heroin together, and we won't be able to do that anymore. I mean, here's the BLL, Black Lives Matter women. Here's their reaction to the verdict. This will be interesting. The Black Queens have their say.
CHIVONA, NEWSOME. I'm the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York, and I'm a devout Christian. And in my Bible, thou shalt not kill. In the Torah, thou shalt not kill. In Buddhism, not kill a living thing. But America has no morals, no soul. Our bloods have paved the streets of this nation since its inception. It was foolish of us to think that a black man would get justice in the system designed to. My heart bleeds for the Neely family. My heart bleeds for his father, who sat in front of me every single day and prayed for justice for his son. There is no one coming to save black people, or else we wouldn't live in these ghettos, we wouldn't be in these prisons, and we would be further along than we are. We wouldn't be at the absolute bottom. So forgive me for being jaded and cynical, but once we saw those non-white jurors, we knew that this case was over.
None of them.
Non-white jurors. How could there not be an uproar that the same person who got off Kyle Rittenhouse, who got off O.J. Simpson, was used here? And shame on you, celebrities and politicians who claim not to be racist, because the racists spoke loud and clear. John McCain's daughter, she had something to say. I think she incited a riot for the right. Phil Mickelson, he had something to say. Kid Rock donated $3 million. And if you look on social media, if you look at the hatred spewed across against us, against black people, against a man who was sick, because when there's a crisis of drugs in America, I'm sorry, it's only a crisis when it's a white person, an opioid crisis. Jordan was labeled a drug addict and labeled a crackhead. The only crime that Jordan nearly was guilty of was the color of his skin.
Come on.
But luckily for Daniel Penny, his skin was not like Jordan's, because you honestly wouldn't have seen our face. The NYPD would have arrested him after 3 hours. The justice system would have found him guilty. And shame on this jury, because to be real, they didn't even try. Once the lesser charge was removed, they came back an hour later and said it was deadlock. Less than an hour and 20 minutes later, they said not guilty. These wonderful white people, I hope they celebrate their Christmas while the Neely family is praying and asking God for comfort. Goddamn them and goddamn America.
So I want to focus on the beginning and the end of that. First words out of her mouth is, I'm a Christian. Then she ends it with, goddamn them and goddamn America. I'm a vegan. I'm headed to White Castle. I'm heterosexual. I'm bending over for Diddy. These people are delusional. She has a mental disorder. She needs help. That was mind-blowing. I'm a Christian, but goddamn them and goddamn America. That is incredible. Your thoughts, TJ?
Well, if you just listen to that, you would think it's, I don't know, 1940, maybe 1960. These people are so delusional in their worldview, and it is the only thing that they have left at this point, because the tide has turned. I mean, that scene could have been taken out of a movie. She prepared for that for a long time. Her, Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, they have prepared speeches for every time a black guy dies in America. Now, not if he dies from another black guy. Certainly don't care about any of the 800 or so murders in Chicago every year. But every time something happens where a drug addict is threatening to kill people on a subway, and he gets choked only to the point where he's still alive, and then the police want nothing to do with him because they're afraid he's going to get AIDS because this guy was such a disaster. That's when they have these canned speeches. At some point, and I hope we're here. This is truly where I think this is my. I'm begging white people everywhere, please move on from this nonsense. Don't be manipulated ever again. White people, stop it, because white people are generally would have allowed this to go on. It's like you can bark all day long, but white people had to go along with it, and they did, and that's what led to a very destructive time in America right around 2020. So move on from it. It's all staged nonsense. These are all canned speeches, and they're hoping that you'll turn around and donate some of your hard-earned money to them so they can buy some more $6 million mansions like the 3 lesbians at Black Lives Matter.
TJ, I got to move on to, I want to talk a little bit about Jay-Z, and I want to do it with Shamika Michelle. Jay-Z getting caught up in this Diddy case, being accused in a lawsuit, civil lawsuit, of raping a 13-year-old girl. I got to move on to it because this thing, I cracked some jokes over X. Was it yesterday or today? Was it
yesterday?
I think it was, I can't remember, yesterday.
It's yesterday.
About, I've hated Jay-Z for years. I've given up and removed all rap music from my playlist, and I've criticized hip-hop culture for years and years and years. I cracked some jokes because Jay-Z put out a statement, and make sure we got the Jay-Z statement in prompter for me to read because I can't wait to do it. But I cracked some jokes mocking Jay-Z's statement where he calls himself an honorable person and Tony Busby, the lawyer that's behind the civil suit, is going to pay a price. And I sarcastically mocked Jay-Z. And I'm looking right now at X, and it's trending. Jay-Z, the honorable drug dealer. Because I cracked the joke that, oh no, Jay-Z's a very honorable drug dealer. He would check IDs to make sure he wasn't selling to kids. He never sold to parents. He's the most honorable drug dealer in American history. He would clasp hands with the people that he sold drugs to and say a little prayer with them as he completed the drug deal.
Only users over 18.
Yes, and he had to, had 2 forms of ID to buy a drug. And people took it seriously, and now it's trending over X, and people are constantly tweeting at me about how dare you say there's an honorable drug dealer. And someone posted something that struck home with me, and I think it was kind of powerful unintentionally. The guy posted, why did people not see the sarcasm? Because we are so used to black celebrities and journalists supporting this degenerate behavior, regardless of political ideology, for decades. We simply thought you were like the rest. I definitely missed the sarcasm. And I'm not offended by that statement. I'm repulsed by it. I'm saddened by it that it has gotten that bad that you could say things that illogical, that stupid, and people would take it seriously because they're so used to hearing that level of illogic and stupidity that they find it believable that someone like myself would be defending Jay-Z, who's being accused of pedophilia. Oh, no, not Jay-Z. He's a rapper, and he raps all this satanic music. He wouldn't molest a 13-year-old girl. This man is above reproach. Don't you know he sold drugs, and he did it in such an honor? So anyway, we're going to move on to Shamika Michelle, and I want to talk a little bit about Jay-Z. Before I do that, I want to talk to you guys about the Center for Academic Faithfulness and Flourishing. Everyone knows that college is a major investment, so it's important to do your homework. You want to find a school that shares your values, but who has time to dig through all those websites to find what really matters? Well, today I'm excited to share a new online resource that does the work for you, ChristianCollegeGuide.com. This online directory of over 250 Christian colleges is a one-stop shop. Like any other college guide, you can view all the basics, acceptance rates, tuition costs, academic majors, etc. But here's what makes ChristianCollegeGuide.com special. You can use this guide to learn about a school's faith tradition, its campus policies, and its spiritual life. All the info that shows a college's true character. You'll find answers to more than 150 questions for every school profile, making the definitive guide to Christian higher education. And the best part, this college guide is free to the public. That's right, free. Just go to ChristianCollegeGuide.com to create a user profile and get started today. That's ChristianCollegeGuide.com. Shamika Michelle, next. All right, welcome back, Shamika. I want to start with the statement that Jay-Z released. There are allegations in a lawsuit by a woman that at, I believe, the age of 13, she was at a VMA party or after party with Jay-Z and Diddy, and she was raped by both Jay-Z and Diddy while a third female celebrity watched. I believe this lawsuit was filed 3-4 weeks ago. It came out yesterday or over the weekend that Jay-Z was the person mentioned in the lawsuit. It just became public yesterday. It became trending. And so yesterday, I believe, or this morning, I can't, my mind is so scrambled. I think it was yesterday. Jay-Z released a statement. So let me read the statement and then we will react. My lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This lawyer, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics. I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you, I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more than prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine? Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit. My heart and support goes out to the true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability by this ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the projects of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake physics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me that, if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. I look forward to showing you just how different I am. That's Jay-Z's statement. I find it laughable. The man has spent his entire rap career bragging about being a drug dealer. And he's now claiming, oh, we protected children. We had a strict code of honor. Don't you understand that drug dealers, we have a strict code of honor, and I'm an honorable person. And my music lyrics, even though I know kids are rapping along to the profanity, the debauchery, the degeneracy, the immorality of my music, I'm really looking out and protecting these kids by preparing them for this satanic world that I'm a part of building. Can't you see that I am the ultimate beacon of virtue? That I, Jay-Z, I am God. Can't you see it? The man's statement is laughable. His whole career, his whole life seems to be dedicated towards the exploitment of young people, the stealing of innocence, the promotion of nihilism, and now he wants to run back. You listen to his music, you listen to who he's been associated with, you look at what the whole rap music, commercial rap music industry is and what it promotes, and how could anyone think I would do harm to any children? Yes, I dated Aliyah when she was a teenager. Yes, I met Beyonce when she was a teenager. Yes, those of us in the music industry in general, rap, rock, whatever, have a history of screwing teenage girls. But how could you believe it about me? I'm Jay-Z. Haven't you listened to my music? Haven't you listened to all this positive energy that I spread? Jay-Z's a joke to me. And he's put himself, let's say he's innocent of these charges. his own behavior, his career choices, what he's bragged about has put him in position where people will believe this type of thing about him. And he needs to be looking in the mirror and say, what did I do to make people believe that I was capable of this?
Said he don't beat the block. He said, I don't beat the block, I bees the block. But it seems he might be going to jail for slinging his cock and whatnot. It's crazy to me, Jason, that he would not let his attorney write this letter because he looks crazy. I think he meant psychic and not physics. That's what I'm thinking. But just to go as far as to say that he actually protected kids, like no drug dealer protects kids. I don't care how many turkeys you give out or how many back to school book bags you pass out. You are not protecting kids. If their parents are on drugs, they are not protected. If they have to jump over needles on the playground, they are not protected. If they have to dodge bullets outside, they are not protected. So I think he was feeling himself a little bit. He got a little Beyonce at the end of that. I'm feeling myself because why would you even say that? It looks silly. And I can't believe that the people, I don't know if are you going to read your tweet that you put out that is going viral?
Please.
Because I'm disappointed with the amount of people that didn't get the sarcasm in that. I don't think that it's a result of people believing celebrities or seeing journalists buy into what celebrities are saying. I think it's a result of social media and us just being lazy. We've gotten lazy with the LOL and the emojis that we act like we can't read and put together context clues. We have gotten lazy. If we remember, soldiers used to write home, write their family, and that was all the communication that they had was letters. But now we act as if we can't decipher a tweet. Like, put together the context clues, people. I was disappointed. Some of these people I follow on Twitter that came up under your tweet, slow motion. I mean, just slow and didn't get it. Like, come on, people. You shouldn't have to have a bunch of emojis and LOLs to follow along. We've gotten lazy as a society that we just act as if everything has to be spelled out plain and clear and have a bunch of cartoon characters in order for us to understand. Oh, God, I was disappointed, Jason.
Here's the post. And it was posted over top of Jay-Z's letter. The letter I just read is posted over top of that. Jay-Z says, we protected children. I'm an honorable person. We're from the blah, blah, blah. And so I then post over top of that, when Jay-Z sold drugs, he checked IDs and made sure no kids were harmed. He didn't sell to parents. He honored a code. He was the honorable drug dealer. Tony Busby is about to find out. Jay-Z is different. Even his threats are honorable. That's so laced with sarcasm. And even if you don't read Jay-Z's letter, even his threats are honorable. How do you threaten someone in an honorable way? How do you, and again, maybe the argument that some are making is like, hey man, we're so used to seeing Al Sharpton or Joy Reid or somebody black on Abby Phillips or Jonathan Capehart. We're so used to seeing these people on TV defending degeneracy and buffoonery that they were like, well, holy cow. They came up with a way to rationalize Jay-Z raping a 13-year-old girl. That can be the only explanation, is just like, we've seen crazier, because I will say this, we did sit through nearly a decade of people going on TV and saying like, yeah, the police are just killing unarmed black men randomly. It's a genocide. And the stats would say like, maybe 20 guys would get killed a year in a controversial manner. Overall, I believe the numbers were like, nationally, maybe 400 to 500 black men are killed by police. 600 to 650 white men are killed by police. And people are acting like, well, this is a pandemic. They're going to wipe out the entire black race. 400 to 500 black men a year is going to wipe out the entire American black race. They saw that argument and it being accepted. Maybe that sounds just as crazy as this.
It's impossible to read. When Jay-Z sold drugs, he checked IDs. You can stop right there. You don't need to go one word further to know that this is sarcasm. Right there's.
Right.
Literally, because you're doing something illegal. I'm buying drugs, but I'm going to show you my ID.
He checked IDs. If you didn't stop there, but you did it to make sure that no kids were harmed, at least there.
Yeah.
If you didn't stop, he checked IDs, but no kids were harmed, you got to know what's up.
And the people under the your tweet, Jason, saying things like, you must not have grown up in the black community. Well, I'm questioning y'all whether you grew up in the black community, that you can't catch sarcasm, that you don't see comedy, that you don't understand that any person with half a brain would get this as sarcasm. So while they're under your tweet trying to virtue signal like they're the American gangster, they're sounding real soft and sweet because why don't you get this? Why don't you understand? Why are you coming across as retarded? I don't get it.
Because we all know that black people don't have IDs. Black people don't have IDs to show anyway. So
True.
I'm not sure where we could have gone from there.
And that's one of the reasons Jay-Z couldn't make it as a rapper. He required an ID.
Right.
And that hurt his business. I mean, couldn't make it as a drug dealer. That hurt his business as a drug dealer. And that's why he turned to rap. Because, and now when he makes music, now that's when he really looks out for kids. I don't know if you've heard his songs, but they're like Christmas carols for kids. They promote a lot of positive values and things that really uplift kids. And so in all seriousness, I ended up putting out a post like, hey guys, just for the record, this has been going on for like 20 some odd years of me shredding Jay-Z and writing. I believe it was probably 2006, 7, somewhere around there. I can remember I wrote a column for Fox Sports that pissed a lot of people off where I was like, Jay-Z's the king of nigga music. That's what he does. He makes nigga music. He says the word nigga over and over and over again for money. And I just trashed him. And people were so upset. Oh, how dare you say this about Jay-Z, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm just telling you the truth. This is what the guy does. And it's on the, because I listen to the music, and I've told you all for years, I had a love-hate thing with rap, and then I finally just gave in to the hate of rap and just had to acknowledge that it's just evil. But on the Magna Carta album, Magna Carta, Holy Grail, I think it was called. Shamika, do you remember that there's either a song or a commercial where some dude comes on and starts talking about black people in gold chains and how this comes from Africa, and so don't ever apologize for wearing the gold around your neck and blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And I can remember listening to that, I was like, Jay-Z's really putting this in the music. We have all these important, serious issues, and he's promoting, hey, buy as many gold chains as you possibly could. And I'm just like, what? I'm sorry for saying this. I'm just going to keep it real. But I was like, what Jewish jewelry dealer put him up into putting this commercial in to take your money to Jacob the jeweler as soon as you get any and go blow it on a gold chain? I was like, who's paying him to do this? Who and like, this is insanity. And I've heard people defend Jay-Z, and he's some sort of role model, and he's the blueprint for how you could make it out of the ghetto. And I'm like, holy moly, this guy is putting young people on the path for death. Jay-Z is the aberration. The overwhelming majority of people that choose that path, they're in jail or they're dead. He knows it. Everybody knows it. That's why I consider his music satanic. I just thought my criticism of rap is one of the biggest things that I'm known for. And that's why I just thought, like, No one can take this serious. Everyone has to know this is a joke. This would be the same as me putting out tweets, yeah, I weigh 170 pounds today, that it would be that obviously a joke that no one would buy it, but I guess my standards just aren't low enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't know what commercial you're talking about because, again, I'm a West Coast fan. Although I do think Jay-Z had some music that I probably bobbed my head to. I sang for him. I think it was in 93 or 94. He was in Greensboro for a concert. It was before he was actually Jay-Z, that we know. And I sang to him Rolls Royce, I'm Going Down. It was before Mary redid it. And he crushed my dreams by saying, like, I had a beautiful voice, but that's when he said, yeah, Mary's going to put that on her next album. And I was just so sad because, who else is a Rolls Royce fan besides me? And so I just, I like to say I sang in his ear before Beyonce, but clearly I wasn't young enough since I was already in college, since we also know he didn't check the IDs of Aaliyah or Beyonce before setting his eyes on them. So, we know the ID thing is just not real.
It's this. Do you think if Jay-Z gets exposed, do you think people will finally start dealing with the fact of like, hey, what is this commercial hip hop music? What's its real purpose? What's its real agenda? Will we have that conversation, or will people just, Diddy and Jay-Z, they're just the exception? Meek Mill and these other guys, they're very positive, and this is such a great industry. This is why we miss Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle wasn't like this. He was just a gangbanger. He just a gangbanger, no different than Jay-Z. Will people finally start to recognize what commercial hip hop is and its purpose?
I do think some people will, Jason, but I've also seen people. Now, clearly, if the man is innocent, I want him to be completely exonerated, and I don't want his reputation to be ruined. But if he is guilty, I want all of them. I want the dominoes to fall. I want them all to have the book thrown at them, because what we are seeing or hearing about, these are some outrageous claims, and it's really ridiculous. But I will say that I think, like with any other thing, it's going to be a slow walk. Just like we've seen Black people kind of come around politically, I do think people will come around. But I also looked in the comments and I saw, Jay-Z is ready to fight, and Jay-Z is not going to take this laying down, and this attorney doesn't know what he's gotten into. And I'm like, first of all, Jay-Z didn't even have his attorney write the letter. I mean, this was clearly just him on his phone at night saying, let me, handle this. But, I think some people will begin to open their eyes. I've heard a lot of people, even young people, start to put that music down because they realize what it's doing. When I was young, I didn't have a lot of friends to die because someone decided you stepped on my shoe, or I don't like you and I'm just going to shoot you to death. I didn't lose a lot of friends like that. Kids my daughter's ages, they are dealing with this like often, a lot, because these kids are dying at very young ages often. So I do think that people are seeing this and saying something is going on, even if they don't want to decide what the root cause is or the root problem is. They are aware that something is happening, that things are changing, and that people are dying at earlier ages. Of course, I think it's the music. I think it's the fact that we don't have as many fathers in the home. We don't have these two-parent households. Kids are not actually being raised. People are sitting them in front of the computer or the laptop and letting YouTube raise the kids, Instagram raise the kids. So I think it's a lot of factors. The church is not as involved as it was. The church is weak now. They don't have the the power that they used to have over people. You know, when you used to walk on church grounds and say, oh, I can't curse or I can't do certain things on church ground. Now anything goes in the church. The church is hanging up pride flags. So I think it's so many factors. And so people may not be ready to actually deal with what the problem is. But I do think they realize things have changed and it has to be something that we look at closer.
Well, I think at some point, I mean, again, the whole music industry and the whole sexualized, hyper-sexualized music industry is there's a connection here when you become hypersexual and you're led around and everything is about getting a blowjob or having sex or banging this girl or this or that girl. And you look and you say, well, damn, R. Kelly made a lot of hypersexualized music and he had no sexual discipline to the point that he's screwing all these young people and now he's in prison. And R. Kelly was the R&B version of Jay-Z. He was installed to promote this sexualized music, and he and Jay-Z did an album together, The Best of Both Worlds. And maybe we'll get a remake of The Best of Both Worlds from behind prison with Jay-Z and R. Kelly. They can do the Best of Both Worlds 2 album, which I got to plead guilty. I used to own the album and used to listen to it.
I could use some new music, Jason. I could use some new music. I am guilty of putting on my heels and putting on that I feel so freaky tonight. Give me something else. Time. I need something new.
Tamika, I'm letting you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate the audience sticking with us today. We had some technical difficulties. I hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll get into the college football and the NFL stuff tomorrow. Wanted to celebrate Daniel Penny's not guilty verdict. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom.